Okay. We're at 7. So, as I've been looking at this picture, it's okay, but I think what it's lacking is some color. I've noticed that some of you have done more with color, and that's okay. What I have noticed is some areas have large blotches that a lot of you could break up with smaller brush strokes. Now what I see here is I think we need more interest on this one with the leaves. It's believable, but I think we could use more color because this is our focus area, because you remember we have our rule of thirds, so it's this tree, and I want to do more leaves, like, you know, maybe there were more left on the tree than what we originally were thinking here, and I think this will make the whole picture pop a little more. Had to make sure that was recording. You know, none of us older people would have ever thought in a million years that we would be recording videos on a telephone. Let me think about that. On a phone. Now what you want to make sure you do is, if you add more leaves to your tree, don't make it so, I'm going to add some brighter red here, don't make it so that you have big clumps, okay? You want to be subtle with this, and there I go dropping my brush. So here's a perfect example of some place where you can kind of just go with the flow. I know you guys have all dropped your brush a time or two and gone, oh, what am I going to do? So if I add some leaves down here, it's not quite so noticeable. And it takes us back to a level of believability. Let me get some more burgundy in this red here. So this is what I want to do for right now, is I want to notice I'm not making big solid clusters anywhere. I'm trying to, and don't make like even groups, because if you make even groups all over the place, then it just looks made up, and we don't want it to look made up. We want it to look natural, or as natural as possible. And you have to judge the size of your leaves by the size of your tree too. Remember, notice I'm not making, like, you know, leaf shapes, okay? I'm not painting leaf shapes. Now right here, if you can see, I have a branch that's too thick for that far out, okay? It should be smaller than this one, but it's bigger, so I am going to kind of just camouflage that. And now what I think I need too is, we have some color here, and I'm going to add a little more, but I want to add some more coming down through here. Because it almost looks now like maybe somebody accidentally splattered paint on the front of it, and I don't want it to look like that. I want it to look more like, oh man, there goes some leaves off the tree, like they're flying. So I'm changing my brush marks. I'm changing spacing, because you want it to look kind of random. You don't want it to look contrived. All right. Now, if you can see this palette here, this looks super, super bright, but it's watercolor and it's transparent, so by the time it gets down to my paper, it's not nearly as bright. But that's okay, because we don't, we don't want like a fluorescent effect. And I'm going to come back in here and give us just a little more color. Now, since this tree's been dropping leaves for a while, and because obviously it's almost done, so you would have some color underneath it where you've already had leaves fall too, right? So we'd have a little color under here from the leaves that just naturally fell without the high wind. Now, remember, if you ever make brush marks that are just too heavy, like, like maybe the brush you're using is too big, and you get in here and you make a bigger brush mark. Let's do something here. Let's say I'm using this brush to do weeds, or do my ground. And now this brush is pretty old and stiff, but so let's say I'm doing my ground and I get it too blotchy, okay? All I have to do is break that up a little bit, okay? I'll come in here with, just get colors of similar on the color wheel, but a little different, and you can break this up and give it different amounts of value and depth. And you don't want to take the same color clear through it. Like, I might even come back in here and get a little bit of a green tone and break it up, because you don't want big patches of color. And sometimes in watercolor that's okay, and people will do it on purpose, especially in an area that they want to de-emphasize because it's farther away or something. But if you can break this stuff up, then it gives it a much richer texture and more believability. So I think what I want to do also is this area of the landscape is very plain, so I want to enhance it just a little bit. And I think I'm going to go for more of a golden color in the field here. Field, meadow, whatever, it's just kind of a big open space. So I'm going to get a nice, like kind of a watery mix of yellow. And let's see what happens. I'm going to go real easy at first so I know. Okay. So I'm just barely touching the paper, and I think it's enough, but I'm going to take just plain water and mix in my brush now and kind of spread this out a bit. Okay, and see that color kind of just come into that? So now that I've added color over here, I kind of feel like I need just a little bit more out here, because this looks like distant trees, but we have a fall scene up here and it looks like summer back here. So I am going to take my fine brush and I'm going to mix this background up a little bit, okay? I think in the fall predominantly we have the leaves, I love the maroon / burgundy orange leaves, the real bright ones, kind of like this, but I think predominantly we have a lot of yellow golden color leaves. So I want to just kind of come back here and mix up this background just a little bit. See, I got it kind of blobby there. I got my brush real wet. Don't make the marks real repetitive. Break things up a little bit. Break up your spacing. Break up the masses of your brushwork. Now as I come forward, this is all kind of flat land out here, so I am going to mix in some other kind of flat lines. And I want to be careful not to make these too strong, because it's a background, so I don't want it real strong. Let's see what I can come up with. Very, 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 very light. Did I say very? So this kind of, how I envision these kind of lines that I'm doing now are, they might be huge patches of grass or weeds or things like that, but we're viewing them from the side, so they're going to be flat. You know, they're not going to be round, even though they're round. If you're above them in the sky, they're going to be round. So I'll do them a little wider in the foreground here. So the nice part about doing pictures this size, I think this is like 9x6 maybe. And the nice thing about doing things kind of in the size range is that you can do them in a fairly short period of time and move on and try another one. If any of you guys are bored out there, which I'm sure a lot of you are, get sick of the internet, whatever it is that's entertaining you, do something for fun. So now here I am taking a dark brown, it's actually like a dark gray, and I'm indicating some trees of some type that are a little closer. Just to give some more definition to that distance. But I'm doing it lightly. We don't want that real heavy. And I will get some, a little bit of green for this distant area here, because I mean, I don't know if you guys like ever pay that much attention to when the leaves turn, but I always have for as long as I can remember. And different types of trees progress at different rates, so we have a nice mixture at times of different ones. It's kind of weird to be painting fall going into spring, but anytime's a good time for color. Okay, so I've messed around with that a little bit, messed around up here a little bit with some dropped leaves. I still think that I want to do a little bit more with the color right here, because I think, you know, since that's our emphasis, using the rule of thirds, okay, I want to go with that just a little bit more. What I want to do is, I've used the same red all through here, so I want to kind of mix some orange in here a little bit. Now the reason for that is these leaves are moving, we're seeing them from different angles, and that being said, the light's going to hit each one differently. So they're not going to all look exactly the same. And that should help brighten things up a little bit too. I'm still being careful not to go too heavy with the brush. And you don't want a solid stream of leaves either. You want to make sure that they're kind of randomly spaced. And that's, from what I've seen in student work, that's one of the hardest things. Is everybody, when I tell them to put like little bunches of grass here and there, there's usually evenly spaced clumps. They're the same size or the same spacing. And that might be a habit that's maybe a little hard to get past. So what I want you guys to focus on when you like, we're nearing the end of this, and I am going to put some more texture in this distant field. It'll be more like these horizontal lines. I'm not quite there yet. In fact, I might even add some pines back here to really give us more interest. But I think one thing I want you to take out of this is go back through, and if you see areas that look kind of fake and blotchy, break them up a little bit with some very fine marks. And I think that'll help your composition quite a bit. I have no leaves over here, so I'm going to add a few more. And you notice these leaves aren't all attached to branches, because most people, if this painting is up on a wall or something in a frame, most people aren't going to notice that there aren't any teeny tiny little twigs there holding the leaves on. But the fact that there are leaves there kind of fills in the blank for your brain that there are twigs there. Okay, so I like that color. As I'm looking at this and I see I have these nice greens and stuff in here, I think I might want to put a little bit more over here. So I think what I'm going to do is stop with this for now. That's the end of part 7, all right? And we're going to finish up with part 8. I hope everybody's doing good, and I hope your families are too.